Hey, welcome back. We're going to pick up on the second half of chapter 30, where we're looking at some of the early 20th century material, um, more specifically, diverging traditions, late 1900s, early 2000s, and some fun stuff there. Listen to a few things. Um, Starting, we left off with Eastern Europe and the Slovakia area, the Bohemians, if you remember, and we're moving now west to Norway, which is up north. It's one of the two that hang down, Norway and Sweden. Edvard Grieg, 1843 to 1907, one of the distinctively Norwegian composers from that area. Um, Used a lot of folk music and stuff that kind of represents Norway in his things, and had a lot of these frequent drones in the bass or in the middle register. You can almost, in some of his pieces, pick out, uh, excuse me, the sense of bagpipes. Here is the howling, which is based on a Norwegian dance. Um, and you see the drone written in it, playing A, B, A, G, A, and F, or whatever those two notes are. um, a fifth as it goes along. This is the drone. This would be very much imitative of the bagpipes at that time. Edvard Grieg used a lot of different combinations of measure styles, and really did, falling in line with some of the other composers of the time, a nationalistic style. We see songs on the Norwegian texts and using some of the Norwegian styles. The Peer Gynt Suite is one of those that is very popular, and in his piano concerto piano concerto in A minor. Here's a little bit of the Peer Gynt Suite. We'll hit two or three different spots from this. This is the beginning. This is the Polish Youth Symphony playing. And this opening is probably one of the more familiar of his pieces that you might recognize. So this section up until about the 4 minute mark is sections of this same melody in different sonorities, different um, uh, there's no tonal center, so to speak. I mean, it's in a certain key, but it vacillates between this key, this tonal center, and that tonal center. And you heard right there at the end of that something that we talk about in composition class, where you have maybe a 16 measure segment that's divided into 8 measures, and then right there at the end of that, they had the flute and oboe kicking back and forth on just a little bit of the motif. Da, 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 da. No, 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 no. Yeah, da, da. And it's just a playing with you. Once you get a motif, you can play with that in a lot of different ways. We're going to bump on to about 4 minutes into it, where it's the funeral for Assi or whatever. I don't know how to say that, but this is going to wind up the last part. Yeah. And it goes on. You might remember, or you might have heard that piece in a movie, maybe somebody's dying or dead, or even in a funeral march. This next piece, the last part of this, is the known as "In the Hall of the Mountain King," and you'll recognize it as well, I'm sure. I'm sure. So I mentioned earlier this drone concept where we go blah, blah, but you also have the drone idea there in the bassoon ground, boom, 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 boom. That's called an ostinato. And pull out your pen and paper or send me an email right real quick. In the Hall of the Mountain King, and write down this: in the Hall of the Mountain King, the bassoon is playing an ostinato. O-S-T-I nato. O-S-T-I nato. Or drone, D-R-O-N-E part. And that'll be the first question. What is what is happening in the Hall of the Mountain King with the bassoons? The bassoons are playing that ostinato or that drone. Oh, what fun. Oh, stop. I don't want to hear it again. Okay, moving on to Lang Lang playing his piano concerto in A minor, just a little bit also. So both of these are the epitome of Grieg, Edvard Grieg. And very, very much Norwegian, although the piano concerto here has an international scope to it. Listen to a little bit of Lang Lang. Oh, sorry. And you get the idea. You know, I used to not be able to sit through piano stuff, but this just teaching some of these courses over the last few years, I have really come to love just listening to some of the great things that have been written and watching some of the great players that have come out in our recording. And I'm so grateful that we were able to see a lot of those. So we're moving across the, I think it's the Bering Straits, I don't know, the body of water between Norway and the United Kingdom over into Britain. And one of the big players over there is Elgar. We're going to move on through these slides because they talk about Perry and a couple Stanford and a couple others. Switch to Elgar, Edward Elgar, 1857 to 1934. Great English composer. Handel was German. Handel at the end of the classic era was German. He spent some time in London and gained popularity there, but Elgar is one of these guys that really is one of the first. You got to go back into first semester, John Taverner and some of those guys to get really English influence. But Elgar gives us a lot of Brahms and Renaissance, Wagner and some of his things going on there. Not really trained as a musician, no academic training, but self-taught. Violoncello, the cello concerto is just beautiful. Not an easy piece. I've heard it in concert a couple times, played by that great cellist. Incidentally, in that last video, the ending of it was Joshua Roman playing the Dvorak cello concerto, and you would have written to me that Joshua Roman was the feature artist there. And so in this one, we're going to listen to Pomp and Circumstance, see if you recognize this, and then we'll come back and discuss it for a minute. I love the Brits. You'll appreciate the Brits here pretty soon, but I want to say that this Proms is just a wonderful event, a week of great music, and the British people really play it up really well, and you could see the crowds, the masses there. This is, of course, the Pomp and Circumstances, written for, in 1901, the coronation of King Edward the Seventh. King Edward the Seventh. And, of course, we have the royal family going through all its stuff now with the Queen having died within the past year or two, and then the Meghan and Harry and I don't even know who they all are, all these people, and then the new king being coronated, having his own coronation. Okay, we're gonna skip a bit, brother. Just fun stuff. Listen to the enthusiasm. Some of you will be experiencing that enthusiasm. Stop, really. This is not that conductor. This is Edward Elgar from the British camp, moving across the pond now, and I got to keep moving to the United States. We have a lot of music going on. We talked we'll talk about some of the jazz and other components of the United States music, but classically speaking, we're more in the next few lectures rather than in these lectures. We don't have a lot of stuff going on in the United States yet in terms of really great classical music. We're starting to get some orchestras. The Brooklyn Philharmonic, the New York Philharmonic. Theodore Thomas is an immigrant musician. We got some immigrants coming in to write some stuff. But native composers, John Lowell Payne, Chadwick, Horatio Parker, Edward McDowell. Out of these, Horatio Parker may be the only name that you might recognize or that would be done very much. Now, there is this young lady, Amy Beach, 1867 to 1944, and she was a pretty good composer. She didn't study at the top universities because she's a woman. And of course, they were excluded from studying in the universities at that time. But she did it on her own, piano, harmony, counterpoint, privately, taught herself to compose by studying some of the works that she admired. Incidentally, that's the same process that some of the guys in the last couple lectures had gone through. Brahms, studying Bach from a century before him, and now Beach studying Beethoven and Brahms to figure out what they're going to do with their stuff. She did a few large scale works, the Gaelic Symphony, the Piano Concerto, and then this piano quintet based on a theme from Brahms. Go figure, she's learning from Brahms and playing it. But again, just like some of the other places, band music is one of those things that's becoming popular because many people can own bands. They started creating community bands, both wind and brass instruments, easier for amateurs to play. Um, with the brass instruments, valves and pistons and keys, uh, pitch was not a problem. You know, you play a violin and you gotta hit it right on the mark. You play a cello, but you play a trumpet, and as long as the trumpet itself is in tune, you're gonna be playing in tune pretty good. So this is kind of a continuation of back in the mid 1800s when we had the Civil War bands, and after that, then the community band proliferated. And here's just a band preparing to play. This is, I believe, John Philip Sousa in a band shell in a place. Went back to visit in Indiana 5 or 6 years ago, and my niece was playing with an orchestra there. I mean, a band, a community band, and they did a short concert for like the 4th of July or something. It was pretty fun. Okay, so professional bands as well. Patrick Gilmore, John Philip Sousa, who conducted the United States Marine Band, was a prolific composer, did a whole lot of his own things. And he did marches for the soldiers to march to. The military bands played for all of the events in Washington, all the dances. So he made dance arrangements and just a very versatile composer. A lot of things that he did. What does this say? Okay, so the standard march form is introduction and then A, repeat, B, repeat. The non-repetitive march form is introduction, A, repeat, B, repeat. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish out. March, and then a trio, optional trio, and then march da capo. A march, da capo means the head. And so the head is back here. This is the exact same thing as this. So if it says march da capo, it's saying march, go to the head or the beginning. Non-repetitive, doesn't do that. It does repeat the trio, but there's this little break strain in there. You listen to enough march music and that makes sense. Stars and Stripes Forever, one of his more popular songs. And here we're going to listen to the military band play the Stars and Stripes Forever. Now, there's a section in here that has some piccolos, and we've talked in other classes about what the piccolo does. This is one of those iconic piccolo pieces. Now, this is really staged kind of dork.
John Philip Sousa led the Marine Band to new heights of popularity during his tenure as leader from 1880 to 1892. It was during this era that he earned the title
Skip a bit. enough of that. Okay, so that would have been like the fife in earlier days. The fife, that's a modern day piccolo. And like the Civil War bands would have had a fife and drum corps where the fifers pipes are playing that, and then the drummers are marching drums and bass drums and stuff like that. Lots of different subjects for popular songs, and of course we're not going to go much into popular songs, but love, ethnic satire, inventions, baseball, causes like abolition, which is the I don't know what getting rid of slavery, temperance, not drinking, political campaigns, evangelism. In fact, the what did I just say? Oh, Salvation Army had its own band. Salvation, an evangelism form for them. Okay, so again, the standard form though, verse and refrain, verse and refrain. We didn't come up with that with our praise and worship music. And here, harking back to my composition people, 8 measure or 16 measure or even 32 measure sections of voices, and then the refrain of a similar size. We saw after the ball just a few minutes ago. We're not going to go hit that again. The Tin Pan Alley, a district on West 28th Street, is a little bit north of Chelsea area. And it was this place that was known for recording music. Lots of people lived in that area, and playing on the streets, playing in some of the bars in that area. A lot of great music came out of there that we'll look at later. And then the music of the African Americans who had come up and start in some of the southern states, and especially in the New Orleans area. They have all these other different things that they bring from Africa and input that. The call and response, which is, I'm saying and you're responding, or the improvisation, which is making some stuff up over a basic formula. Syncopation, which I think we talked about in a previous class, or maybe we'll talk about. Short melodic, multiple rhythms, moans and shouts, and other vocalizations are the things that they do while they're playing or while they're in the process of making music. And then instruments like the banjo, which is based on a West African instrument as well. We see this. I don't see any instruments there. Well, let's go on. Okay, spirituals had some of the greatest impact. Southern slaves, and the oral tradition means that they just pass those down, singing those, singing the spirituals in a lot of their music. Fisk Jubilee singers did concert tours in both the United States and in Europe in the 1870s. A lot of music out of this. Now we're going to listen. We're going to finish out here with the Ambassadors of Harmony, which is technically a barbershop group. It's a men's chorus. Not a whole lot of them are people of color. There are a few people of color in there, but they're going to sing a little bit of this Go Down Moses, more contemporary arrangement of Go Down Moses. leave it there and bid you adieu. That's a very modern rendition of Go Down Moses. I could not find a less contemporary rendition. I could not find any rendition that I liked really well enough to subject you to. That was it. But it was a good one. That was a good one. And so I will see you at the next time. Have a good day.